Now we go straight inside the story where the community of Irwin St. James is still coming to terms with the news that 5 of its female members, including 2 teenagers and an 8-year-old, were raped in their home on Monday night. Live at 7 special correspondent Kaneal Gayle spent some time in the community today. He joins us now. Good evening, Kaneal. Thanks so much for joining us. Of course,
evening, Jodi.
The entire nation expressing shock and outrage at such an incident. But what are you hearing on the ground in terms of community residents?
It's basically the same thing. We're talking about people who are fearful because they're saying, how could this happen in my community? This is supposed to be one of those quiet, laid-back rural communities where a lot of people go to retire, because it's that kind of community where you have these people coming back from the UK, coming back from the US. She spoke with one resident today. She spent about 40 or 45 years in the UK. She came back home and she was saying this incident really shook her to the core. And a lot of people in the community are also angry, because they're saying, how could this have happened so close? We didn't hear anything. What could I have done to help these young women, if at all anything?
So they're saying they didn't hear anything. So when did people realize something had gone horribly wrong?
Okay, I spoke with one of the residents. She's the one who, after the girls were endure this ordeal for hours, about 2 or 3 hours, and after the men left, they stayed in their house for about an hour or so, waiting to feel like whether or not it's safe to go outside, waiting until the coast was clear. Then they ran to her house and rang her doorbell. This was about 3 a.m. Tuesday morning, saying let us in. But she was saying that she wasn't sure what was happening. She went out there, she saw them, she saw that they were crying, and obviously they were traumatized and distraught for some reason, but she wasn't sure whether or not somebody else was out there with them trying to get in. So it's when she let them in and they told her what happened. She called the police, and of course we will hear from her in Newswatch at 8 o'clock.
The other issue, though, is that we're getting conflicting reports about what exactly happened in terms of the incident. One report says a woman was pulled through the window or attacked through the window, then asked to open the door. One report says they were taken to a field. Did you get an accurate account of what happened?
I did, after speaking to several people, including 2 of the teenagers. I did kind of put together the whole scenario. I spoke with a very close friend of the family, Wida King. She's also the president of the Citizens Association. We have an extended bite from her. Let's hear what she told me.
What they've been saying to me is that it looks as if the perpetrator have been stalking them for a long time. Because from what they told the girls, that we've been watching you, we were on your house stop last night, we know what time the man come in the house, and we were waiting to put 5 bullets in his head last night, and things like that. So they have been stalking the girls, and they know everything about the house. And what they did on Monday night, they go to the back of the house where one of the bedroom was, and the girl must have been on her bed, and they grab her back, push away, force the window open, and put their hand in and grab her hair and put the gun to her head and tell her, don't move. If anybody in the house moved to call the police or anything, they were going to blow her head off. So what they did, they panicked. They opened the grill, go and open the grill and let the other perpetrator in. And that was when the crime started, from 10 o'clock, between 10:30, and it went on for 3 hours. What they actually did, they took the girls out of the house one by one and tied them up and raped them in the bushes right next to their house. They couldn't ring anybody. They were more or less helpless. I think the 8-year-old was devastated. It was what they managed to do, get her back inside the house. And what they were so terrified that they all went into one room and huddled up together. They wanted to run to my house, but they were too frightened, because they frightened that the gunmen might be down the road waiting for them. So they huddled up. I think 2 of them get brave in the end and run to another one of the neighbor house and ring the bell and told the neighbor they were raped, and she called the police. But at the same time, it was about 3 o'clock, I think. She was a bit frightened too to let people in, but the police came and it was true. The 5 girls were raped. I was with the victims yesterday. I stayed most of the days with them, and I think what I've seen is the worst thing I've seen for a long time. And it's all right when we hear about rape, but Monday's attack on these young ladies were terrible. The 8-year-old is still in hospital. The 8-year-old is still in hospital. She underwent surgery yesterday, so hopefully she might be out of hospital this week. But the family is devastated, and it's going to take a long time for these girls to come around to. And as a community, I think we're here to support them and give them all the help we can to a good recovery.
Listening to that, you can't help but feel overwhelmed with emotion. You know, these could be your brother, not your brother, well, your sister, your niece, your daughter. What's the profile of the family? Because a lot of questions are being asked about why these 5 females were together at that point in time. Okay.
Well, what happened is they all living in the house with a male relative. Okay. The oldest, it's her and her daughter. The 8-year-old is her daughter. The other one who's in her 20s, that's her sister. So there are 2 sisters, a mother and a daughter, and the 2 teenagers, they're cousins. And I spoke with the teenagers today. CVM was the only one who was granted access to them, and the pain, it was there on their faces. They were trying to be brave, to say, you know, yes, we know that Jamaica is behind us, and we are trying to be strong for each other. But you could see beyond that they were just putting on a brave face.
What were they like in terms of physical? I mean, because people want to know whether these were girls that looked big, or are they small in stature?
They are small. They are small teenagers. For 14 and 16, and they are small for their age. In terms of there are teenagers within that age group who are more developed, who you will see in high school and wonder if they're in high school, but there is no qualms about it that these girls are young teenagers. In terms of you're talking about how the country is dealing with it. The investigators from Sissoko and the Granville police, they were the first responders, and they are also having a difficult time dealing with it. I spoke with Sergeant Terrell. He's one of the investigators, and this is what he told me.
Well, when we responded, which was in really quick time, and we found the victims, immediately we took them to seek medical attention. And I can tell you that we are distraught by the situation. As we speak now, I'm basically heartbroken. The entire St. James community, as it relates to the police officers, we are going through a phase right now because we are saying that this is heartless, especially when we looked at how the situation unfolded, where that 8-year-old was taken, and you know, it's heartrending.
Just coming up in Newswatch, he tells us more about they went to visit family members today, and one of the officers who went actually broke down and cried when she saw how one of the male relatives was taking the whole situation.
No, the 8-year-old, her status, we know she's still in hospital, but in terms of the extent of her damage,
her injuries are extremely bad. She is in stable condition. I spoke with a relative today who said to me that right now her reproductive future is in doubt because her entire reproductive system has been severely damaged. He said that one of the doctors said it could be irreparable damage, but they're hoping that, you know, the years will be kind to her.
No, we know one of the things that the National Security Minister has said is that, look, we're getting more police on the ground. Did you feel that presence in St. James today?
I didn't, and that's one of the things the residents complained about. The Granville police, which is policing this big region, only has one vehicle. The police try to play it down that, you know, yes, they're aware that is one vehicle, but they're really trying their best. And yes, they're stretched, but they have to make do with the resources they have. But in terms of, you didn't see a strong force on the ground, and that is why I think they are bringing in investigators from Kingston and also Sissoko personnel from Kingston to help with the investigation.
Any word on who who these perpetrators could be?
There are theories, but the police say they are closing in on who it is, and they will find the perpetrators. I'm
sure the whole of Jamaica is anxious to hear who they are and see them brought to justice. After the break, mob justice served, justice served.